So let's get back to the concept of the Alabaster Girl, which is the title of the book, and I think possibly the driving force of every man's exploration in the land of women, somehow to find this beautiful, true, deep sense of love. Since we're talking high philosophy, I've got a little theory on this that I'd like to share.
Perfect. Ooh.
And something I read about along the way has been the idea of the anima complex.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
What I basically understand about this is that all human beings are born whole and complete, and we've actually got our masculine and our feminine sides. But as soon as we hit 2 or 3 or 4 years old, we realize that actually we're little boys, and we start to disown all the feminine traits of ourselves. Like our femininity as men just gets shoved into our subconscious, and the idea of the anima complex is actually who we're looking for, this perfect image of a woman that we're looking for in the external world, is a reflection of our own inner femininity that we've cut off and abandoned along the way. And if only we could find a woman that would reflect our inner anima, then we would finally be whole and complete like we were when we were born into this world.
the way it works, you sort of find that in your shadow, that is your blind spots, in a way, like we did with the circling. You know, you're looking internally to find that, and that feminine part of yourself. And the only way you can do that is through that community that we talked about earlier, with other people. Because you're right, we do shove it away. We hide it, we suppress it, we're taught to suppress it, whatever.
Is it a Freudian thing, or?
Carl Jung, I think.
Carl Jung, yes.
Yeah.
Carl Jung.
And did you, you said you had a theory you wanted to share. Is that the one?
Well, that was a theory.
You said, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and like for me that was like, so maybe it's true, because I read you say every man has a vague notion of the perfect girl, a subconscious image that he carries in his heart from his earliest years to his dying day. And that resonates completely true in my experience, although the curious thing is that if I sit and daydream about a perfect girl for me, her image changes every single year.
That's why I said vague.
Yeah.
Because you can't really put a picture on it or put an image on it.
Her base qualities, however, don't.
Yeah. Right. Well, the way she makes you feel doesn't.
No.
The way she makes that would make you feel if you had that girl in your life that you're imagining, right? And how you would feel alive and inspired and full of energy and full of life.
That's for sure.
That doesn't change.
Yeah.
Might be a bikini model when you're young, or a movie star that you like. That's my ideal girl. That's the perfect girl. It might be any variation across the spectrum of women too. And it, like you said, it changes all the time. But it's for sure there, somewhere in our heart. We have that feeling, the vague image of that ideal girl.
The anima complex teaching is interesting because actually it means we're us. We're just looking for ourselves.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe like that concept of the fourth stage man, where you cross-dress at weekends, and then you can be an integrated whole.
Yeah. I'll stay without.
Yeah, you're still going to continue looking for her on the outside, right?
Yeah.
Searching the world. What country has got the most aligned girls with the Ars Amorata? I'm going to look there for my anima complex.
Yeah, but Jung's interesting because he goes really deep. His psychology is about mythology and archetypes and all this raw, primal energy stuff. A bit woo-woo for me, but there's definitely something to it. I don't know what it is, but there's something to it.
Well, something that I've got interested in over the last year or so is like all these myths and legends and heroes' journeys, and there's mainly masculine ones, but there's some feminine ones as well. And nowadays when I sit with, this is something I got from some friends actually, but you can actually pick out the different archetypes and characters of people. If I sit with a woman for long enough, I can be like, there's a little bit of this in you, or a little bit of this, or like someone who reminds me of a movie character somehow, like the purity of the Snow White. But then there's like, you know the film Snow White and the Huntsman? Have you seen that?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it. It's a new one, right?
Yeah, a couple of years old. Talks about all the different feminine archetypes, and like the witch who eats beautiful young women so that she can maintain her beauty for longer. Talks about all this sides of the feminine. It's incredible.
Archetypes, yeah. I mean, I said in here, you know, assign me an archetype. I don't know what it is. Wizard, king, poet, lover, rogue, I don't know. And, you know, they're interesting concepts, and I like that. I like the you know, Jung and his ideas. But I don't know it very well. But I think it's interesting. So this anima thing you're talking about, I've heard of this too, but it's like, I don't know. Everything's plausible when you get to the quantum level, right?
But what's been your discovery about the Alabaster Girl?
What does that mean? What does that question mean?
So where are you now with this idea? Like, what's the point of pontification of the day?
What's the answer to the book? Is that the question?
Well, I don't think there's an answer, but you might have a couple of favorite. Like, I just named the anima complex, right?
Yeah.
It's
like, you mean like the theories?
It feels like a fashionable, interesting point today. Might not be next year.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you've got some kind of equivalent that you think, yeah, maybe it's that. I like.
Oh,
that
I have a
idea
lot of
right now.
maybes.
Yeah.
But they're all in here, right? They're all like, as I said, I mean, maybe it's a science thing. Maybe it's strictly science. Maybe it's mathematics. Maybe it's chemistry. Maybe it's stardust. But you get to the quantum level, to the molecular science of love, and nothing's measurable, and nothing is, you know, everything's a wave and a particle at the same time. We can't figure it out. Our minds can't comprehend it. It's like we can't comprehend eternity.
What does seem cool, though, is that it doesn't seem that you've grown up into, you know, a healthy, functioning adult, and you've seen that there is no Alabaster Girl. It's all pragmatic. Yeah. Like, there's still a belief and a wonder.
Exactly. Like, I still identify. I'm still that little boy who's like sneaking through the forest and looking for treasure, and seeing what magic I can find, for sure. That has never gone away from me. That spirit, that I've never become jaded, or I've seen it all, or there's nothing more for me to learn, or I've never become this all-seeing eye either, where I see everything and I get it now, and like.
Apart from in the club on a Friday.
Except for there, I can see everything there. I miss nothing in the club. You girls just arrived. I didn't even see them come in, but I can tell they're there. Yeah, I mean, like, you never arrive. That's the whole point of this journey. You never arrive. And for this guy on the train, where does he arrive to? It's a beautiful thing. The mystery is incredible. So I can't answer, like you said, where am I sitting now with my concept of the Alabaster Girl? I'm sitting in large, large questions, and that are fantastical to me. That are just that make me feel that whatever else, I'm living a life that's seeking something. So yeah, like, I'm excited by it, by the confusion and the not knowing.
I've got a way of seeing it that I guess has emerged these last few days of making this film, and I like it.
Oh, yeah? So
I keep it for now. Like, we talk about 3 stages of everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the first stage, the man thinks
3 stages of horniness.
It's like there's a stage where we blindly believe and hope that there's an Alabaster Girl, and we project her onto all of our girlfriends and the women we approach and hope for, and never lives up to those expectations. And then it seems like there's this mature phase where we know that the Alabaster Girl doesn't exist, so we'll see the women that we're with for who they are, and know that that's a much more pragmatic way about going about things, and we can construct a healthy life.
Be more realistic, yeah.
And then I think there's this third phase again, which is tapping into the Jungian archetypal nature of things, where we tap into, as men, our own gypsy, pirate, magician, lover type energy.
Yeah.
And our way of being and interacting and seducing and romancing our women has them tap into the archetypalness of their Alabaster Girl, or that fullness of woman, that fullness of love, devotion, beauty, is something that we can draw out again of many different women.
Yeah, and I like that you said that in that third stage you are identifying and discovering and exploring your own archetype. To me, that means you're trying to understand yourself for the reality of who you are, for the beauty of your wholeness, for your good and your bad, and everything, whole and complete, and accepting yourself, saying that's a good man in this world. I'm doing my best to do good things in this world and have and leave magic wherever I go.
Well, if I don't spend as much time thinking about my own archetypal nature as I do with the woman I'm with, then there's no symmetry in that.
Yeah.
There has to be an inward search that's.
I mean, I said it in
similar
here,
to the outward one.
mirrored along with what you just said. I mean, maybe this is what you were talking about, where I talk about those stages where we're trying to figure it out in our stages of love, of man's understanding of relationship and love. We start out thinking it's the one, get our heart broken, and we get something in our system that's, as you said, Jordan, you become more pragmatic, more realistic, you date in a more practical way, you relate in a more reasonable way, and you can still build a constructive life. And then the third stage that I described in here, for a man, and his discovery is that now he wants to discover the essence of women, the archetypes of women, what is the driving force of nature that comes from the feminine, and really trying to understand that spirit and looks on that level, which most men will never ever try and have that conversation with themselves or with the world. Like, what is that? We either stay in level 1 or level 2, stage 1 or stage 2, which is fall in love, think it's the one, get our heart broken, start dating around a bit, get another relationship, till we forever. And that third stage is saying, what is my role as the masculine and the feminine? And then beyond that is exactly what you said. You come to this realization that is a full circle. You're back whole and complete with yourself, without all the baggage and neediness and naivete and all that kind of stuff. And the woman that you love and who loves you represents all that great exploration of feminine spirit. And it's her. So I mean, there's an entire world out there. There's an entire society out there that really has tossed away this side or this concept of monogamy, and that a man and woman can be joined and stay for years together in a loving embrace because they've only seen destruction. So there's all kinds of different types of relationships now. But I think if in that full circle, you could stay with that woman for the rest of your life because that is the most glorious woman on earth, and she represents it all. So go back to the simplicity of a man and a woman who like each other, which is as simple as it gets. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. None of us would exist if somebody didn't say, "Hey, it's something about you I like. Would you like to have some mead?" Whatever they did in medieval times.
Mead?
Yeah, mead is
Rum.
beer and honey or something like that.
Whatever I'm just trying to say something from before. Instead of go for coffee. Before they invented coffee, what did they go for?
For an ale.
Yeah, we went for a mead and read a sonnet and sat in the garden.
Let's go to the square dance. Do-si-do. Swing your partner around and around.
Over the years, having been involved with this message with you, as you know, I've been reading all kinds of stuff from psychology to spirituality and wanting to really understand thoroughly, well, how does this all fit together? Because, wondering if there is a notion of this romantic part of the man who's longing for this alabaster girl, is that like an immature Peter Pan type fantasy thing, or are we all going to have to, as men, grow up and become adults? I've been struggling with that.
Be reasonable, yeah.
Yeah, is this romantic notion something of my past that I should outgrow? These kinds of questions. Yeah. And as time goes on, my understanding improves. I start to see more of that third phase, which is actually you can completely become this functional adult, have relationships, do the whole independent thing. And then on top of that, there is not a return to the fantasy of before, but a grounded adult,
right,
moving beyond this sensibleness moving beyond into something much bigger. And it's a recuperation of all of the romantic dreams of the past, and it's rooted in complete real life. And it's possible to create yourself into a person that's able to draw forth this alabaster nature from the woman that you're with.
That's well said. I have no comment on that because that's very well said.
I'm just thinking, taking it a bit deep, you look at lots of the spiritual leaders, they have this big theme they're teaching about returning to this childlike wonder and curiosity.
Yeah.
So you want to, even though you're going to grow up and you're going to get more mature and more realistic, you still need to retain that childlike, like little boy energy. That fun, that big smile, that ease and delight, that when you see a puddle you want to jump into it and not walk around it and don't want to get your work trousers dirty. There's something to that of all these different people are saying, this childlike wonder, curiosity, this naturalness. I don't know what else to say, but yeah. I feel it.
Come full circle, huh? The whole book is like,
circle.
Talks about smaller, very definite things to grander, larger things. We haven't even got to the end of this book yet. I mean, we've talked a lot about it. We've talked about a lot of the themes that end the book. Big questions and big mysteries are ending the book. And it's exciting times. It's exciting. I think it's exciting times for all of us.
I'm excited, like just what I said feels nice. I feel like, at least for right now, got something figured out.
And that was very well said, Jordan.
That
was a really strong.
What it means to me is we don't have to be childish and hoping, or immature, wandering the earth, hoping for that magic to happen. We don't have to grow up and become boring adults either.
Right.
Yeah.
You make the magic happen.
Yeah. Do everything at once.
Yeah.
I've got another thought I'd like to throw out there, which is this concept of, you talked about earlier, flow. And there's been lots of studies into these moments in life where you're completely immersed, completely engaged, you're alive. And I liken this to tennis, which is my background growing up. Sometimes you're playing a tennis match and you're just not playing well, you're trying to force it, and the more you force it, your shot's going out, and you're doing second serves like a little pancake, but still not going in. It's like, what is happening? But when you get in that flow energy, everything's natural, you're engaged, you're on fire. I liken that to love a bit. Sometimes you think, oh, things aren't working out, and guys put the pressure on themselves, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. There's a lot of pressure on how do I find this alabaster girl. What we're talking about now is symmetry and ease and delight, is flow. It's like, strip that all away and become engaged and alive. If you're feeling that energy, it's going to be natural. There is a jigsaw naturalness about the one, or whatever you call it. And if something doesn't feel right, if you send out an invitation, it's not reciprocated, she's not your girl. It's a lot of pressure off this kind of notion. It is a destiny, it's a free-flowing spirit about it. That was one of my big ahas as well, as some of the business mindset. You've got to make things happen, make things happen, make things happen. That this free-flowing thing, I think there's something to that as well.
So I think in this moment of having it all figured out, we should just go down to the street and the one is going to appear.
I felt the energy from across the room.
Looks maybe like a female sheep.
We've been scratching our heads together for 7 days solid.
That's
Cloud of horniness, man.
Cloud of horniness.
Yeah.
Stand out the front, you'll walk on by eventually. That one.
I love that this conversation is transcending this.
Yeah.
The book, and you guys are talking up here, about your own thoughts and realizations and learnings, and that to me is fantastic. I like that, because if we could stem some conversation from this that goes into loftier places and maybe comes up with more advanced philosophies and ideas than is presented here, that's exciting to me. To start a conversation.
We were talking earlier about Jung. It seems like all the, I'm only a rookie in psychology, but all the psychological trains of thought, whether it's behaviorism, whatever, they have kind of a final stage, whether that's self-actualization or individuation. And what they talk about is common things, about a sense of wonder, curiosity, aliveness and light, loving others, naturalness. There's no game playing in that. There's no inauthenticity. It's happiness in yourself. It's all these things we talk about. That's the final stage of, becoming a whole person. that will ultimately attract the alabaster girl. And it's interesting, these themes, even though you've never read a book, this kind of academic book in your life, that you just, through intuition, you're finding these same things.
Yeah, people tell me there's a lot of parallels with the kind of things you're saying in here and Buddhism, and I don't know anything about it. In a circular way, or a circumspect way, I understand it, but not in a studied way. So, yeah, but it is it's life lessons.
Yeah,
This really comes from sitting and like scratching my head for long periods of time and wondering what happened there. And it seemed, like I said, a lot of people read this. There's reviews on Amazon where guys going, well, come on, this is like, I read this, what is all this crap, the first 50 pages, and it's like just a bunch of repetitive words, and it is very repetitive. I know that you could slice this down to just the ideas, and you could cut it in half, but then it would miss the musicality that I would like to read. There was something that I would like to read, even though I don't like to read it now. I'm like, I can't look at it.